Our scripture passage this morning comes from John 14. And it's a part of what's known as the farewell discourses. And these are some sayings that Jesus shared with his disciples as he was preparing them for his departure. You kind of could say it's like last words. And he's getting their hearts ready for this grief that he knows that they are going to feel. But he's doing it in advance because he knows that one day their grief is going to turn into joy. One of the things that we forget about sometimes when we're trying to make the world a better place is that it can be a joyful experience if we know the fruit that our work is going to bear. So Jesus knew this, and he knew them, and he knows us. And so as we listen in on these words, I want you to just kind of put yourself in that place. Just imagine that you're there walking with them, knowing that this person that you've walked with for years, who you've seen all these amazing things happen with, who spoke to your heart in a way that you weren't used to, letting you know, I'm going to be gone soon, and you're going to grieve. It's going to hurt. But then there'll be joy in the morning. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house, mother's house, Creator's house, whichever word feels most inviting to you, there are many dwelling places. Some translations say mansions. Some people say dimensions. There are many of them. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, you may be also. And you know the way to the place where I am going. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way? And Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Creator except through me. If you know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him, her, or whoever. We got to have open hearts and invitation. Then Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Creator, and we will be satisfied. And Jesus said to Philip, have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Creator. How can you say, show us the Creator? Do you not believe that I am in the Creator and the Creator is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Creator who dwells in me does these works. Inviting words. Thanks be to God. So if you were listening, you might have heard me say the word no a bunch of times. No, he knew. No, 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 no. So that's the point of this message today, about knowing and being known. If you go to BibleGateway.com, which is a very good tool, I suggest you go to it, listen to the whole John. But in the Bible itself, there's about 1,600 times that the word know or knew or knowledge or known is used. I tried to read all 1,600 to prepare for today, and I only got like a couple hundred in, but I think it's enough. So how many of you are familiar with that song by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes? Came out in 1972. And it starts off, if you don't know me by now. You know that song? If you don't know me by now. Exactly. Exactly. I played a song on YouTube, and I was thinking about you in the comment section that you were talking about last week. And I looked in the comment section, and this guy goes, I'm 80 years old. I'm a white guy, and this song still feels good to me. And I was like, All right, bringing people together. But I think the power of that song is that people want to be known. And when you don't feel known, it kind of hurts. Especially when you've been around someone so long that you feel like if you don't know me by now, you're never going to know me. And just imagine Jesus with his disciples, 3 years, miracles, raising people from the dead, walking on water, maybe even breakdancing on water. Who knew what he did? But he did a lot of things. And it's like they still didn't know him. And that probably hurt more than what he knew was coming. Not being known sometimes feels like a death sentence. And for a lot of us, it is. It is. And what's worse than not being known is when people think that they do know you and they don't. When they make up assumptions about how you look, how you dress, who you love, all these things. I know you, but they don't know you. But there's some power about being truly known. When I think about my life growing up, and I am very surprised, one, that I'm alive, and one, that I'm here, two, that I'm here, and all the different things. And I can only attribute me still being here and being filled with joy that came in a far, far away morning was because I knew I was known. And I was known by God. I was known by a love that doesn't get distracted. I was known by someone who doesn't judge me by where I came from or where I am right now, but actually judge me by where I am going, where all of us are going. How many of y'all feel known? You don't have to raise your hands, but just check in your heart. Feel known? How good does it feel to be known? And how good or not good does it feel when you don't feel like you are? When I was younger, I was a Bible nerd. And I came across the scripture in Jeremiah. And it's one of the Old Testament / Hebrew Bible areas. And I grew up in a church where they said you don't need to know any of that. You only need to know everything in the New Testament and throw out the rest. And that's just the way we were taught. But I wanted to know more about the background, so I started reading it anyway. And I came across this passage, and it said, God said to Jeremiah, "Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you." And I was like, what? Before I was formed in my mother's womb, I knew you. So there's like some kind of pre-incarnate reality of who I am that is known, undisturbed, unfiltered, unblemished. And I was like, wow, I want to know the me that God knew before I was formed in my mother's womb. I didn't know. I was young. I didn't know this, that, or other thing, but that thought, that possibility that I could be known and that I was known fueled me every single day of my life, and it fuels me now. When people judge me because they don't know anything about me, but they think they do, I don't even worry about it half the time because I'm like, you don't know me. I'm known in a way that you can't even imagine. I was known before America existed. I was known before racism existed. You were known before whatever seems to separate you from your others. You were known. Before any of those things, you were known, and you were beloved, and you belonged. Isn't that good news? I mean, is it? Come on. I know this is y'all might be the frozen chosen, but come on. Isn't that good news? Now imagine people going out in the streets, knowing that they're known, living like they're known, smiling, shining their light like they're known. That's attractive. That's attractive. But that's not what we see in this world. And every time one of us feels just a little bit known, rather than get excited and shine that light, We kind of hide with other people that accept us, like, I'm cool, you cool? Let's hide out together. Instead of going out into the world, shining our lights and helping other people know that they are known as well. But being known sometimes is hard, because I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you treat someone better than they think they deserve, and they don't think they deserve it, and they say, you don't know me. If you knew me, you wouldn't be this nice to me. You wouldn't be this kind to me. Because sometimes the way we know ourselves is not in the best light. We've been taught by all sorts of things, and sometimes those who are closest to us, they teach us the wrong way of being known. And sometimes we're so hungry to be seen that we'll choose to be something that we are not, just to be in relationship with somebody, to be less than who we truly are. But that doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do them any good. And it doesn't do the world any good. So the invitation to you today, I'm going to give y'all some homework, is think of the ways that you are known and the ways that you want to be known, and compare them. And if they don't match, ask, what would it take for me to be known like this? What would it take for me to be known in the world as I am known by God? I invite you into that. I want to throw out another way that we play around with the known is when Jesus was arrested and Peter was in a situation. Peter knew Jesus. He said, I'll die for you. And when they said, hey, don't you roll with that guy? You know what he said? I don't know that guy. I don't know that man. Sometimes we act like we don't know what we do know because of fear. We know a better way, another way, but when the opportunity comes, we don't take it. There's this book by Reinhold Niebuhr. It's called Moral Man and Immoral Society. I think for updating it, we can call it Moral Humans and Immoral Society. But in that book, he talks about how by oneself, people are actually pretty cool. And then they get in a group and somehow they just go down. They go to the lowest common denominator, fear, all the things. We're working against a lot of wiring in our systems. So that's one time, I used to get bullied a lot. I've been trying to figure out why that was. Part of it's because of my mouth, maybe. And I wanted to be known as I was known, and I wouldn't take other people's stories for me. I wouldn't receive them. And I think it was more comfortable for them if I just showed up and said, okay, I am what you say I am. But I'm not Eminem. I don't know if y'all know that song. But anyway, here's a song that says, I am whatever you say I am. I didn't play that. So these guys bullied me in my high school. And one of the guys was from my church. From my church. I showed up to the school New Year not knowing anybody. I see this guy from church and I get excited. But little did I know, he wanted to be known as more of a gangster and didn't want people to know that he went to church. And so when I saw him, I was excited, like, I know somebody. I know this guy because I knew him in this other context. And he and I were the same age, and he had a little brother the same age as my little brother. We were both raised by our moms. We were mirrors of each other. So when I saw him, I was like, yes. And I said, hey man, what's up? I go to your school now. And I saw this look of terror on his face, but I didn't understand why. And then later that day, he just started shoving me. And I was like hurt because I was like, this guy knows me. I know him. I don't know what's happening. And it took me a while to realize he didn't want people to know that he was a church boy. And he proceeded to lead other guys into bullying me. And they beat me up, which is sad. And I was trying to figure out what happened. And one of the guys ended up having to do a project with me. And it was just he and I, or him and me, or however it is grammatically. I'm thinking about my mom's voice in my head saying, that's not how you say it. And so I sit down with him and we're working on this project. And he goes, dang man, you're pretty cool actually. And he's like, I don't know why they don't like you. I said, I don't know why they don't like me. And he was like, man, next time they try to mess with you, I'm going to say something. I said, really? He said, yeah, I'm going to tell them you're cool now that I hung out with you. And I was like, and I got excited. I started thinking, okay, he's going to set this thing straight. A few days later, walking down the hallway, here they come. I see this guy. I'm going to call him Robert because that's his name. And I'm sure he's not watching this. And I see him, and I'm thinking everything's straight. And I'm looking at him, and then he just comes up, what you looking at? Pushing me up against the locker. I look over at Charles because that's his name. And I'm like, they hit me. I fall on the ground. They start kicking me. I'm up against the lockers. I'm looking up at Charles like, but you know me. And he's like, walks off. I was like, wow, man, what was that? And then I remembered these words of Jesus, who said, hey, the world's going to hate you. You need to know that. If you were from them, they wouldn't, but they do, because they don't know me and they don't know the Creator. So know this, they're going to hate you, but also know that they hated me first. And I don't know why that brought comfort to me, but it did. And then I realized something, and I'm going to wind this down, that this whole faith thing, it's about knowing. It's about what's worth knowing and what's not worth knowing. It's about being known and knowing others. If you look at the first story in the Bible, in Genesis, they have this story, call it a myth, whatever you want to call it, but the point of the story is these two people weren't supposed to know something. They weren't supposed to know the knowledge of good and evil, because if they knew this knowledge of good and evil, then they would die. And sometimes I think it's because if they knew that knowledge, they would kill. Right? So they knew what they weren't supposed to know, and they polarized. And we've been battling and battling and battling. And Jesus showed up and said, nah, this is what you need to know. And this is what you don't need to know. And this is who you need to know. Because if you know this, then you will know yourself. So I'll close out with this scripture passage from 1 John 3:2. It says, behold what manner of love the Creator has bestowed on us, that we should be called children of God. Therefore, the world does not know us, because it did not know God. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But I need y'all to hear this. I'm going to tell this. I'm going to say this again. I need you to hear this, because the world needs you to hear this. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when God is revealed, we shall be like God, for we shall see God as God is. And everyone who has this hope in the Creator purifies themselves just as the Creator is pure. There is a knowledge that when you know it, transforms everything. And you are here right now in your bodies in an opportunity to know yourself as you are known and know others as they are known. Not the way the world teaches you to know. So if there is something that tells you that you are less than a child of God, it is a lie. You do not need to know it. If there's anything that tells you that your sisters and brothers, your neighbors, are anything less than a child of God, you do not need to know that. You need to know who you really are, how you can show up in this world. And it will purify everything. It will change everything. I have a little tension with church. And it's because I feel like it held a secret that did not need to be held. It told people that there was a special people who wore special robes and knew special things that you don't know. But the scriptures tell you, you know. So live like you know. Be like you know. See like you know. So that the world can see itself and God as God is, which is love. Thanks be to God. By way of benediction, I'm going to share the scripture from 1 Corinthians 13 and a little piece of a poem from David White. The 1 Corinthians 13:12 says, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part. I know in part. Then I shall be fully known. And I'll fully know, even as I have been fully known." So you will someday know as you are fully known. And these words from David White, what to remember when waking. What you can plan is too small for you to live. What you can live wholeheartedly will make plans enough for the vitality hidden in your sleep. To be human is to become visible while carrying what is hidden as a gift to others. To remember the other world in this world is to live in your true inheritance. You are not a troubled guest on this earth. You are not an accident amidst other accidents. You were invited from another and greater night than the one from which you have just emerged. You're not an accident. You were invited here. Know that and live that. Go in peace.